And thanks to those joining us live and those that be joining us on the archive, D style here, being joined by the one and the only Roberto Diaz. He's had a
What's up,
great
brother?
career
How are
as
you?
a matchmaker, manager. How many more hats do you have, like in the boxing game, Roberto?
In the boxing game, you know what? I still want to do. I've worked corner. I worked.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. Somebody didn't make it, and Matthew Hatton, for one of his fights in Manchester, said, "Hey, here's my corner," and I'm like, "What?" So yeah, I was in the
Well, okay.
corner as
Well,
well.
didn't even bother to ask you if you're ready. Huh? You might as well
He
be
said,
ready,
"You're
because
working my corner." I'm like, "All right." So no,
man.
I love it. I love it, and it's be ready to jump in and save it.
That's right. That's right. Man, oh man. Look, I was actually doing like these graphics for like look, I'm just getting used to the AI thing because everyone's using AI now, right? And people don't realize though, don't just trust the AI. AI makes so many mistakes. It's insane, right? So I was like, let me make this thing about all the fights that have happened in the El Paso County Coliseum, and thankfully I had boxing knowledge, so I knew a lot of the stuff was wrong, right? And I had to direct the AI. No, that's not who Salvador Sanchez fought. Like, what are we doing? That was a title defense and then not a win or whatever it was. And I got it all together. It took me a while. And one of those events, and I had remembered it was I'm pretty certain it was a Golden Boy card in El Paso. This would have been like 2012. And it was with Johnny Gonzalez against Metawa in the El Paso County Coliseum. Do you remember that? You have
I
any?
believe so. I believe so. I believe uh was Abner Mares on that undercard?
I don't know if Mars would, but I know Antonio Escalante from El Paso was on that
Okay.
undercard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Mares might have been scheduled and his opponent didn't
Mm.
pass a medical and that's when
Okay.
it fell off. But I also think because it reminded me in your intro, Juan Lascano might have
Yeah.
been on the card and he pulled out and started calling Oscar out and I'll fight the promoter and this and that and just
Oh.
went on one of those rants. But I
And
believe that was the card.
hey, look, Juan Lascano. If that fight happened, it was not going to be at the El Paso County Coliseum,
No,
but
no, no.
maybe the Sun Bowl. But
Exactly.
I just remember it was such a great fight night, by the way. And I had like, there's no bad seat in the house. It's like it holds like 8,000 max there, so it's a pretty good venue for any ticket you buy. And I just remember like Antonio Escalante, El Paso fighter, he was on that card, and I mean, Johnny Gonzalez had one of the best hooks. I think you mentioned Mares. I think he knocked out Mares a couple fights after
It
that.
was with one of those hooks. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
and you never knew it was going to the body or the head. He knocked guys with both, right? So like
yeah.
you never knew where the hook was going. He was so good at it, and I just remember he was just punishing Mitagua in that fight. And yeah, Johnny Gonzalez did his thing, So
Yeah, Johnny
it's just
Johnny was a good fighter, man. Johnny doesn't get the credit or the people remember him as well, but he fought Vasquez. He beat Montiel. He had a good little run.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah, he
I
had a
just
good little
lost you.
run. All right, can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Roberto Diaz froze, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happened there. Can the audience let me know if you guys could see me or you seen him? Let's find out who lost the connection here. I think we got him back. I think we're good. Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Roberto, can you hear me?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. My phone died. Now I'm definitely having a
Oh
computer
boy.
today.
Yeah, I could hear you, but it is like a black screen.
Hold on. I just put on. Can you hear me now? I put on the
We do
headset.
hear you, yes.
Okay, let me see how I put the camera.
Did somebody call you by any chance? Like did it receive a phone
No, the
call?
phone died, and I have it charging, so I don't know what
Oh,
happened. Either it's probably
okay.
not connected. Let me see. How do I put the camera?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
Visual effects remove.
Well, because I was on the cellular, but now
I
video
see.
image. Huh. Sorry about that.
Are you okay? I mean, we could still hear you.
Hold on,
You
I'm
want to
trying.
try exiting and then coming back in? I think
Okay.
that should fix
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Let's see. Leave studio.
So I don't know, guys, remember Johnny Gonzalez, and he spelled Johnny very uniquely, by the way. He didn't like spell. He didn't like spelling Johnny like everybody else. Like he had his way of spelling his name, and I forget it. I think it's like with the O then the H, and he kind of insisted with that. But he was one of my favorite fighters because that hook of his left hook, like the hook to the body, hook upstairs. Sometimes it looked like it was going to the body, and he'd bring it upstairs, or vice versa. And he was really, really, really good at that. Let's bring Roberto Diaz back on. How's it going, Roberto?
Good, brother. Good. I'm trying to get this video. You know what? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
How come I can't get the video? Huh. One more time. Hold on.
Sure, sure. Roberto Diaz will go in, go out. If not, we'll just. I mean, we could still get him as a caller. We could still hear him. You know what I mean? So, we'll still be able to talk to Roberto Diaz. And anyway, Johnny Gonzalez. I don't know if you guys remember Johnny Gonzalez. Do you guys remember Johnny Gonzalez, or are you guys a bunch of newbies out there? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. You tell me. But let's bring him back on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect. I can see you good, but I can't get the camera here.
Gotcha. It's not. I mean, at the end of the day, we can hear you. So
Okay, perfect. Let's do
we'll,
it.
we'll just have to work it out that way. We'll do it old school, like the old radio shows. You know what I mean? So it's all good either way, and the podcast listeners can still listen to it. So, we're live with Roberto Diaz, and you guys could go back to the beginning and don't accuse me of that's not really him. People don't believe anything unless they see it nowadays. You know, what I mean? Especially with AI and all that. But uh, so yeah, I just wanted to bring up that Johnny Gonzalez thing, and I was wondering if you remembered that. And it's crazy how you're bringing up fights that got canceled, and that's crazy. But that's great. So Roberto, Lester Martinez, like how long have you been working with him?
Lester, I just met. I met. He fought on Lamont Roach's co-main event a couple of
Yep.
years ago in DC, and I've known Bomac obviously for years. In fact, one of the kids that was on the card Saturday, Kevin Ventura, we promoted him when I was during the time I was at Golden Boy. Um,
Okay.
I'm not working directly with Lester. I'm helping out Lester through
Sure.
ProBox,
Okay.
um, but obviously. Over the last couple months after the Mabili fight, got more involved and real proud because the kid is exactly what you see. I mean, he is legitimate. Inside the ring, obviously, he's fun to watch, but outside the ring, I mean, very humble, very a good head on his shoulders.
Okay. So what's your? Are you like an advisor, basically?
Yes, I was helping him obviously with looking into his next couple fights and what trying to get went over with him to Mexico City to speak with Mauricio, president of WBC, to petition for at least an interim opportunity, and was able to get that for now, and obviously to make history with the kid. It was a dream for him to win the WBC belt and get one step closer to the bigger fights.
For sure. For sure. We're live with Roberto Diaz, former matchmaker and current manager, and now advisor. Like, talk about more hats. For years we kept hearing people thanking Al Heyman. Soon everybody's gonna be thanking Roberto Diaz after fights. But
That's the goal. That's the goal.
that's
If
the
you're doing
goal. You know what I
if you're
mean? And
doing the job well, they'll be thanking you without you reminding them.
there you go. And I like how Roberto Diaz said Mauricio Suleiman. He just had to remind this boxing audience that's the WBC president. I said we don't know, but well, we definitely appreciate the clearing that up. So Lester Martinez, by the way, big fight for Pro Box, and I thought the atmosphere was great.
Amazing, amazing.
I did hear some rumors that it was a little over capacity, which is probably a good problem to have. But I don't know if people were joking or what, that it was going over the fire marshal's recommended amount of people to be in a room.
It could be. It could be. That place was packed. I mean, there was just so many people coming and people calling. I know that they had to put more tickets. It was sold out like last week. They had to put more tickets out, and those got sold out. So it got to capacity. I mean, you could feel it. It was hot in there, and the lines. I saw the lines for the beer line. They only have one concession stand, so that line was consistently full.
Yeah.
But it gives you a good indication of what he can do now, and obviously going to a bigger venue next time out.
Being from the United States and even having like Mexican heritage, so like we know a lot about the Mexican boxers, the American boxers, and we're just used to having so many champions, right? The
Yeah.
U.S. is number one all time, Mexico's second all time, like hundreds of champions between them. So we don't know what it feels like for our country to never have had a boxing world champion, right? And the United States especially, it's just like spoiled with so many champions in different sports and this, that, and the third. Um, but Guatemala had their first world champion. I didn't even know that till I was watching the broadcast. They were like, he's going to be the first ever world champion out of Guatemala. I'm like, really? That's insane. I didn't even like. I didn't even know that was like an actual fact. But for him to be, there's only one first ever, right? That's it. But nobody else could ever accomplish that ever again. He's the first ever world champion out of Guatemala, and I think you could see it in the way he reacted when he won, when they gave him the belt, when the way the fans in the crowd were reacting, and big moment for Guatemala, right?
I think right. I think that was a lot to do with why the support. Obviously, being a part of this, a lot of fans. I think, from what I'm hearing, and I heard it actually today on the commentating. One of my other fighters was brought on the mic with Paulie and Chris and Goldie, and that's Amador Mendez, whose father was from Guatemala, was born or is from Guatemala, and he was saying that even back in the day as an amateur, he was hearing how popular Lester is, because the Guatemala saw, and here's a kid from the amateurs winning in international events. So I think from an early stage, this was like, this is our guy. He's going to do it. He's going to bring back a title to our country. So I think as you saw the fight getting closer, the promotion was very good coming towards the last few days, pushing it out there. The people got hot. The people got energy. The people were excited. And you saw it the night of the fight. I mean, they were as one. So many flags in the venue, really loud in the venue, but cheering them on. Si se puede. Almost like a Canelo atmosphere, in a smaller scale of when you see the Mexicanos there supporting their own. So I think this is very good for boxing. It's going to, and for boxing in Guatemala. Obviously, on the undercard, I have a kid, Kevin Anton from California, but he's also one of his parents from Guatemala. So that's going to be the push to drive now the young kids to that's what happened for a long time in the Philippines. They didn't have champions. Manny Pacquiao comes to the stage, becomes a national hero, and that motivated those that came after him to become fighters and become champions as well. So I think it's great to have been part of this. It was exciting. It was fun. Anybody that was there could tell you, man, it was hot in there, but it was exciting. The atmosphere felt like something of a bigger event.
Yeah, there is something powerful about now they've seen it happen, right? It's one thing to believe it. It's one thing to say si se puede. It's another thing, and I did hear them say si se pudo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now a little kid in Guatemala, if he thinks he could be a world champion, he's seen it happen.
Correct.
Like it's not like this like mirage now. It's not a dream now. It's actually happened, and that could. There has to be some type of spike in participation in kids going to gyms and being inspired now. And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be shocked if we do see somewhat of a surge in Guatemalan fighters making some type of impact in the next 20 years or so.
I believe we will see it. I've been told that the government is behind the program, funding it very well, and I think that's why we're seeing more and more, or we will be seeing more and more professional fighters. Because in the past, you wouldn't even not hear it. I mean, I had one fighter out of Honduras. I think Tio is now out of Honduras, but back in the day, I had Eddie Gomez out of Honduras, and it was very. There were certain countries that it's funny, but if I would get a call as a matchmaker to make a fight, and I'm looking for one of my kids that was on the roster, and they call me and say, "Well, I got a kid. He's 14-0. Will you take the fight?" I'm like, "Oh, where's he from?" "Oh, he's from Peru or Ecuador or Guatemala." Or, "Oh, yeah, I'll take him. I don't have to look at him. I'll take him." When you heard certain countries, it was okay because they didn't have the level. You'd hear of a fighter from Mexico sometimes. He's 10-5. You still want to do research because that could be a hard 10-5.
Right.
He still could be a spoiler. So, but you'd hear of certain countries, like I said, and no disrespect, but at the time, even in Mexico years ago, they would tell you, "I got a fighter from where? Los Mochis." "Oh, send them," because they were known as opponents for the longest time.
Right.
Until that surge of Travieso and Montiel and Zorrita, they all became champions. Then it was you put the brakes on. Hold on, there's some good fighters out there. Make sure you don't get the wrong one.
We got to watch out for those 10 and 5s from Mexico. You got to watch out with those. Eddie Hearn's been caught off guard with some of those.
Yeah.
There.
They go to the UK and spoil the night.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do your research for sure. Not to mention, I mean, who's to say maybe the 5 guys that beat him have a completely different style to the guy that you got. You know what I mean? Like it's you got to look at all those things for sure. It is kind of interesting. In the year 2026, we're still exploring new frontiers for the sport of boxing, and now you have Guatemala in the mix, and who knows how they're gonna, be in a mix moving forward. Because now Lester has definitely proven, I'm not here to be an opponent. I'm not here to just take part. I'm here to to go for the top, the mountaintop. I had texted you this, and we're looking at Lester, obviously. We're looking at other young, up-and-coming, in their prime, super middleweights in the world. And at the same time, we have Saul Canelo Alvarez, who states he's still going to keep fighting, right? And he's already, we look at him, he's always been like an undersized super middleweight as it is, right? But now he's older, and he's coming off of surgery. Me personally, the more I look at this situation, and it's no offense to any of the fighters right now, nor am I against them getting their opportunity. If they get it, they get it. Great for them. But me personally, I think it's probably time that Canelo strongly considers, maybe hanging them up. Roberto, that's what I think.
I agree. I mean, he's accomplished everything. He's accomplished mountain, reaching the top, and fame and money and Hall of Fame career. He still has that drive. Now fighting once a year, which he's decided to do, I think we will see 1 or 2 more times. I'd like to see. In fact, I said a while ago he should have, as my opinion, not directly like he should do it, but even a while ago I said, all the champions at one point, not all the great ones have retired, taken a little break, let the body heal, and then come back hungrier than ever.
Right.
I know he loves boxing. Or him doing it, not so much watching it, but I could see maybe 1 or 2 more and then adios, the farewell maybe in Mexico and telling basically like thank you to the fans as a goodbye. But yeah, I don't see it too much longer. And I do see that once he's gone, then we're gonna he'll be missed like every time, you know, a fighter retires. But it will give also that young crop of young kids that are coming up, of young talent, to start getting into the mix of fighting each other and make some great fights.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and there's a lot of great matchups to make, to be honest. And look, I'm not going to be against it if Canelo stays around, but I just think at this point, I do agree one or two and call it a career. But we'll see. It's going to be his choice, obviously. So we'll see where it goes.
And it can happen overnight. You know, he who knows? It happens to a fighter that, oh, I want to retire in 2 or 3 or 5 more fights, but then one day they walk into that gym or they walk into that ring, and then when they walk out, they say, I don't have it anymore. I don't feel the love for it. And it could happen at any moment.
Well, the one thing I've noticed about Canelo is that aside from a lot of other legends who unfortunately didn't take care of their money, they didn't take care of their finances, so there was nobody really around to show them how to manage their money, and they made some bad decisions. So they stuck around longer than they should have. When I look at Canelo and the businesses that he has and the investments he has and the sponsorships he has, like with that one alcohol drink, I forget the name.
BMC?
BMC, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's actually his.
And well, there you go. That's even bigger than a sponsorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the investments that he's made, he's making money, right? So he really doesn't have it's not going to be money. That's going to
it's not going to be money. No. It's not going to be money. I think he'll be one of those gifted ones that could say, okay, I'm hanging them up because I want to, not because I have to, you know, body or physically or something like that. Or because I need to keep fighting because of money. Obviously the money is always a temptation because that money is a brink, you know, it's a brink truck, but it's very different for others. But I still think he will not be one of those fighters that que de lástima, you know, that people feel bad for sticking around too long. Well, not at all.
And the reason I'm bringing all that up, because obviously he's basically the face of 168 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. He's the face of super middleweight. So now with Lester winning the interim WBC and Billy being around, and we have other fighters in and around the weight class, you know, around, you know. So there are guys that he could fight, you know, but I'm not like, if you would have asked me last year, like, hey, well, what do you think about, you know, Canelo fighting Lester Martinez? I would have basically shrugged it off and been like, I don't think Lester has a shot. Like, I don't. That would have been my honest take, right? Now, and I know people have their opinions, and they have a lot. Like, there's people that maybe feel Lester needs to work. Like, he's not a perfect fighter. Nobody is, but I think he showed that we already know he could punch. He's taking guys out early in fights and middle fights. But one thing he showed in this fight, in my opinion, is that even after a fast start, showing that he could have a fast start, he's also able to just box. And he boxed very well in the second half of this fight. And I gave him 11 of the 12 rounds. I thought it was a very easy fight to score. I thought he showed a new wrinkle, at least for an extended period of time in his game. And I thought he looked really good in this fight. And now, I'm not like, I would probably favor Canelo because of all of his experience, but I'm not that certain he could beat Lester Martinez at this point.
Well, Diesel, I mean, like I said a couple weeks ago on one of the on Pro Box's show, is Father Time could also catch up one day, and you find out in the ring. So any time he steps in now into the ring, we got to see where he's at. I mean, obviously, you said it earlier too. He's not a big 168. He's fighting at 168 because he's beating 168s because of his talent. But eventually, these guys are getting bigger. As he's getting older, these guys are getting bigger. Mobili's a big guy. I think he's the perfect style for Canelo. He's going to come at him. Canelo doesn't have to go fight him, chase him. But Lester did impress me with the boxing. You're absolutely right. In fact, we had lunch yesterday before he flew back, and I told him that. I said, "Look, I was impressed with your boxing. Making him miss a lot." And he said, "Yeah, I got caught one time." He said, "I got caught one time where he caught me, didn't hurt me, but caught me where I was like, okay, that can't happen again." So
Right.
you could see the work that's being put in. And one thing that I like as far as what Lester brings to the table is it's not the belt, it's not his record, he's bringing a country now very different than any other opponent that could be out there. He's bringing a full country. So there's also Diego Pacheco, who I work with as well now, and young undefeated that would want. But I think Diego, maybe even the winner of Resendiz and Munguia possibly. But
great fight.
I think with Lester, what he brings and what he showed right now. Now, obviously, the next step is not just bring 4,000, 5,000 fans. Let's see what happens at the next one at a bigger venue.
Right.
Does it turn into 15? Does it turn into 20? That's going to be very telling into how big and popular he is. So I think after the next fight, which is already being putting in the works and seeing what's going to be done, I think it could be very, very enticing.
100%. And look, I like that you're talking about the dinner you had with him, and he's like, I got hit, I wasn't hurt, but that can't really happen again. And he boxed very well, in my opinion, and because sometimes I feel like fighters feel they need to prove they still got a chin, right? And they don't really have to prove anything.
Yeah.
We know you got a chin. Like we saw you take punches from Billy, like know what I mean, in a war. Like we know you got a chin, but a chin is fight night, and it's only going to last you for so long if you just let it get hit over and over again.
100%.
And sometimes, there's an old saying in boxing: "El boxeo no tiene lógica." Like sometimes a punch will knock you out that you don't even know how that one knocked you out, but it did.
Well, we saw Munguia in Tijuana, when he lost. He was winning the fight, dominating, and his opponent wasn't a big puncher. I mean, based on the record, but anybody on the button can show that, hey, that's a perfect example. Right on the button, and Jaime got knocked out.
It's just the perfect, the stars align, boom, and you're out. You know what I mean? Like, and we saw what happened with the guy that took punches from all types of punchers and never went out. So you got to, be careful with that, obviously. So, look, great win for Lester. I do want to ask you about a fight that kind of, it was some unfortunate news, but this girl, Isis Seal, she was in a coma. She was brutally knocked out. And were you able to watch that? And you have any thoughts about that?
Yes, it was very, very frightening to see. Obviously, young girl, 19 years old. By the way, prayers still, because I heard today that she did come out of the coma. Yes. She is talking, so she's on the road to recovery, I hope, and keep praying. But it was scary. It was scary. At the moment, it was like, and this is not to, but it's like, let's get the gloves off. Let's take the mouthpiece off. But one thing that I know for a fact, that paramedics got her to the hospital within 6 to 8 minutes from when they transported her out. So that's always very crucial in a moment like that. So hats off to them and the commission for doing a great job. And hopefully, she could go home soon. It was a nasty knockout.
I do believe that a lot of I don't know if it's across the board. I know it's the case in New York, for example, but are they required? Were they required to have the ambulance on site?
Oh yeah, to do a boxing show, and most promoters. At Golden Boy, there was always 2, because if you have to transport one and you only have one, you can't continue the rest of the show until another one arrives. So normally you have to have 2. Or normally it's good idea to have two, because if one leaves, you can still continue the rest of the show. And obviously, in this case, they must have two because the show continued.
Well, that's good. And for those that don't know, like that's why you take the precautions, right? Because you have it ready to go, and there you go. Um, and
And you don't see that a lot in women's boxing because
you
obviously
don't.
it's 2 rounds. I believe Jocelyn had not had a knockout before, so
Mm,
you didn't expect it. Now, I heard Polly call it on the air, and it could possibly be that she already had something. Obviously, we're not doctors, but
okay.
it could be that either from sparring or from a previous fight, because the way she went out, it was
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say, Roberto. I somebody had mentioned, hey, she was knocked out late January.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Right now, I looked it up. I believe it was a body shot, and like you know what I mean. And maybe that's why they cleared it.
mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, if you're even if it was from a body shot or whatever the case is, if I think the default should be like there should be a certain extended amount of time that you're not allowed to box.
They do give you a suspension when you get knocked out,
Yeah.
and they normally it's 30 days. Um,
Mm,
of no contact, of not even being in the gym sparring.
right.
Um, Sometimes they can go up. I mean, I've seen it. There was a fighter. Mm, uh, I don't remember his name right now, but he was given 6 months because
Okay.
after the fight, when the doctor saw him, he stuttered before. That was just that he had a stuttering,
Mm,
and
okay.
he was stuttering, and the doctor thought it was some kind of neurological effect or something, but it was just that he stuttered. But they gave him 6 months. Obviously, he came back sooner, went to the doctor, got cleared. But yeah, I think if it is, for instance, a hard fight, and even if you don't get knocked out,
Yeah.
but it's a Barrera Morales type fight. Obviously, not at that level because they're not going to fight within the next couple months like
Right.
that. But there has to be like a automatic suspension. Now it's hard because the fighters are like, or the teams are like contesting because, oh well, he needs to fight to feed his family, this and that. So it's hard if it's not by the rules. But that's where you look out more for the fighter than the rule.
100%. Now, again, people did get on. There was a lot of quote unquote outrage on the internet, and look, I get. Look, she's a young girl. It's terrible news, but I just think context matters. So when people said she got knocked out late January, it was a body shot, from what I see on BoxRec anyway. Like so, people could take it for what it is. There's going to be those automatic suspensions. I do think that, in my opinion, they should be longer. Like if you lose by knockout, especially, it should probably be. And I get to have a livelihood in that, but safety's first. I think it should
Yep.
at least be 90 days, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not a doctor. Maybe some experts analyze it better than me. But what I'm saying is, it should probably be longer than 60 days, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
think that's a little
I
too
think
soon.
if we err on the side of safety, it's okay.
Yep.
It's like we say at times in boxing, it's better that you stopped it a minute um, too soon than a minute
Mm,
too late.
100%. So hopefully she'll be all right. I mean, we have to kind of analyze what happened there. And you also mentioned it doesn't happen in women's boxing in general. It happens even less in the lower weight classes of
Yeah.
women and boxing in general. And she was not exact. They didn't exactly put her in there with a one punch knockout artist.
Correct. Correct.
So I
And it
just
was
think
a
it's
four
one.
rounder. Um,
Yeah.
Look, it happened to me at Golden Boy, and I took a lot of criticism.
The
There's a
Sanisa
fight.
fight.
Yeah.
Russ Abner still brings that fight up, by the
Oh,
way.
well,
He always brings it up.
it was embarrassing and it was bad, but and yes, I took the blame. Um, Andy Foster took the blame. We all, felt that we had our responsibility, but really, when I started looking, I'm like, man, because the manager was the husband, was the trainer. I'm like, dude, that's the guy that should be taking the blame. How do you bring your wife, your fighter, with that level? I saw fight we had lost the original opponent, and we were in COVID, and it's fight week, and I'm like calling around trying to find a low weight class, 105, 108, and I'm like, man, 5-0
for the
with
record,
5 knockouts.
You never had seen her. You never had the opportunity to watch her fight.
No, I just saw 5-0 with 5 knockouts.
I'm not. I don't know what you were thinking, Roberto, when the bell rang. But it wasn't that long the fight.
No,
right?
it was.
But like I'm talking before Sinisa basically.
Oh no, the way she walked out, that's the bad part, and not so much the knockout. If she would have walked out and then got caught, okay. But the way she walked out, it was like, I don't want to be here. It's almost like she got pushed.
The way she was walking towards Sinisa, I'm like, what is this? Is she trying to trick Sinisa or something?
Yeah. That was definitely not a trick. I was like, oh man. But see, in that sense, and not taken away from how that shouldn't have been, but
sure,
Sinisa right away, I gotta get her out. Imagine if she would have gone rounds with Sinisa. Sinisia's done. When I've told fighters, and I tell them all the time, dude, he doesn't belong in that ring with you. After you see one round or something like that, you got to get him out. Yep. And then they start growing. They start believing they can, and they become one of the more complicated.
Well, the thing is, Roberto, as you well know, and I think something that a lot of boxing fans don't really appreciate, to be honest with you, is how skillful these professionals we see on TV are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't quite understand that even the guys that don't look like they have defense, they're still evading and slipping like 60% of the punches. You know what I mean? Like they're still, they know how to anticipate punches and roll shots and ride shots and all that. When someone doesn't know how to do any of that, they're going to get knocked out by a professional.
And they could get hurt. And that's why I've been so against a lot of the new generation YouTubers and this and that. I mean, look, I got to give it to Jake. I mean, shit, he went in there with Anthony Joshua. Just to imagine. Broke his jaw, but not even the punch that lands. Imagine just hearing the ones that didn't land. It's like, holy crap. I got to give it to that guy.
Man.
And he kept going. He didn't take a knee. He didn't do the tank. He didn't take the knee or anything like that. I mean, he just, he got his jaw broken. But after that, I think 99% of us would say, okay, that's it. I done it. It's gone. It's over. I'm not having this again. I'm hearing he still wants to fight again. So, hey, hats off to him. Hopefully he'll go down to a different weight class.
100%.
But back to Sinisa, I mean, she was special. Like you said, I at times told her, I don't even see men doing what you do. The way she would change the speeds, the way she would, change guards. I mean, she could fight. Obviously, she was never beat. She had a very close contest with Yocasta, but outside of that, she clearly dominated everybody. And even Marlene was a good, competitive fight, but Marlene had a lot of experience as well from the Olympics.
Yeah. Marlene was also physically bigger than her. Like she went up and weight to beat Marlene. That's what people don't realize.
She went up to 112 to fight for Marlene's belt.
Yeah. And Marlene's no slouch, so that was a great fight. Roberto, I saw you a couple of months ago, or maybe not months, maybe weeks ago, sharing some stuff about of all the fighters. Let me put it this way: of all the fighters you work with at the moment, do you have any right now with Zuffa?
No,
not right now. Okay.
No.
All right.
I haven't been invited to the party.
You haven't been invited to the party. Okay. Do you have any fighters at the moment with Matchroom?
With Matchroom, I'm working on one young kid, waiting on his contract. Good little fighter from out here in LA, Jorge Ruiz, Rayito, and that's one is in the works.
All right. And then, of course, so you're mainly doing work with Pro Box, basically?
I have quite a bit of fighters there.
Okay.
I have a couple with Box Lab with a Maori over there in Orlando, Christopher Pitufo Diaz, and also world champion Antonio Vargas.
Okay. Well, there you go. So a lot going on. I'm sure you heard the news of Top Rank signed a deal with the Zone.
Yeah, that's great.
And then you have MVP. They signed a deal with ESPN for the women's boxing. And like you got to mention how you worked with Sinisa and and all that. And I know you worked with female fighters, but what do you make of, like, there's now an exclusive TV rights deal with ESPN for not just boxing but women's boxing?
I think what MVP is doing for women's boxing is amazing. It's great. I have Raquel Miller with MVP, and I also have Jessica Neri Plata with MVP. They're giving these ladies an opportunity, a platform to be shown. I've had a lot of women that have retired, former world champions, said, "Hey, get me on there. It's not for the money. It's not because I miss boxing, but I'd love to be on that platform in that type of event before I call it completely quits." And there's been talks of a couple of them. And what they're doing, I think, from what I understand, is there might be another promoter with ESPN as well. I think Top Rank is still going to work with ESPN, but MVP is more on the female fighters, and I think that's great. It's just going to give it much more exposure, much more eyes, and look, at the end of the day, they deserve it. Me personally, when I was matching a lot of these women, they didn't care. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the opponent. Just give me the date and the weight. They just want the opportunity. I work with Adelaida Ruiz, La Cobra, hell of a fighter. She's with Pro Box. She'll be fighting in June. Currently, she's the WBC world champion at super flyweight. And all they want is the opportunity. If you hear some of these purses that some of them get in other countries, it hurts. It hurts. And that's when you say, man, exploitation to the max.
Yeah, and again, it does happen to the men too, by the way. But in women's boxing, I personally have some friends that are female fighters, and some of the persons that they told me are just
we talked about one that you support.
Yeah, and I was just like, is that what they paid you? Like what? Like, how do those promoters sleep at night? Like, it's
crazy.
Amazing to me.
It's crazy. I mean, world title fights for as low as $3,000, $4,000 for a 10-rounder.
Yeah, I mean, like I've seen cases where not anyone I know directly, but that have kind of heard about, $10,000 for like a world title fight, which is kind of on the high end compared to some of the ones I've heard.
It is on the high end because I just got offered recently. It was a world title fight. I had the mandatory. It was for Mexico, and I was offered $8,000. And I said, "No, come on. This is a world title fight. We're the mandatory. I'm not asking for millions, but come on." And
right? You're not asking them to break the bank here.
Just pay them what's fair.
You're not asking for 6 digits even.
Correct.
It's like give us some. But yeah, but what I was going to say was, I know of fighters, and it's not really in the U.S., but I've heard of fighters that don't get paid unless they sell tickets. I've heard of fighters that have to pay their own opponents. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on.
You see that in the U.S. You see that in the U.S. A lot of the smaller promoters will tell you, look, they even charge a slot fee. You could put your fighter on, you pay for the opponent, you pay for your fighter, and you pay me a slot fee. Now, a lot of time the slot fee is to cover the officials and cover the insurance and cover that, but still, it's like you're the promoter. That's what you are supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do, brother. Like, what's going on right now?
Mm-hmm.
But well, that is crazy. But how do they get away with that?
As long as they, produce the the medicals and produce the licenses, and the commissions don't know really the arrangement right there, and it's not illegal. I mean, you're doing a show. A lot of the promoters, the smaller promoters, will do a card with everybody paying. So there's no major risk. Obviously, they got to be in charge of the venue and the ring and the ambulance and the insurance and stuff like that. But a lot of them do, where managers or other promoters will say, "Hey, I'll pay for this because this guy needs a fight," or manager says, "I'll pay for the fight." Even when I was at Golden Boy, I would get those calls. "Hey, can I put a fight on and I'll pay for it?" And I would say no, because one, we had too many fighters, so we needed the slots for the signed fighters, and two, most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, the manager's not going to make a fight of the year type candidate, right? If they're paying for it, they'd be crazy if they put the fight in any type of risk. So I didn't want that.
I don't know if it's like something with the name Robert, but like you, Roberto, Robert Garcia, like I've heard you two talk about this. So what's I know I heard Robert say something along like Robert Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
I heard him say something along the lines of, "Hey, I have these fighters and people getting on me because I put them with Zuffa, but nobody wanted to pay them, and they only got paid if they sold tickets." And
Yeah.
I kind of thought Robert was like maybe exaggerating a little bit.
No. That's it. A lot of times,
or I
locals.
thought he meant like I got to take them to Mexico, and that's the arrangement over there.
No,
You know what I
got to
mean?
take them to Mexico, and you'll basically pay for everything, and the promoter will put them on. And here locally, well, we'll put them on, but they got to sell 100 tickets to cover expenses or something. Yeah. I don't blame him for taking his fighters to Zuffa. It's like, hey, these guys now have a contract, they have dates, and now the kids could basically not worry or train, because a lot of times you're training 6 months and you haven't fought. Well, now they know that there's a contract. Now they're going to train really motivated.
Wow. Shushan says the Robert Garcia said he had to pay to put his fighters on. Now he has one that made 100,000 on Zuffa.
Wow.
Roberto, we have talked about Zuffa before Zuffa even did a show,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now they've done 4 shows. I believe it's 4. I think they're going to their 5th one. What are your thoughts so far from what you've seen?
Again, early on, I was not, a lot of outrage was, I believe, and I still believe that, hey, it's another outlet for fighters and trainers and managers. Not every fighter is going to get a home in the world of boxing that we know. The under the old guard, and this is going to give opportunities to kids that maybe wouldn't have a chance, or like I said early on as well, maybe it's for those guys that already been champions and they already tasted what it is and the glory of winning the WBC, the WBA, the BO, or the IBF title. It's on my way out. I probably won't win another one here, but maybe just in that division in the Zuffa, I could win the Zuffa belt. Not that they're after that, but they're after the cash now at this point, because that's what they need. But you're not going to take over the world of boxing that we know, because look, Saturday night, what it meant for him to win the belt. The WBC belt. He first thanked God and then thanked his mom and dad and said, "Your son is a world champion now," and that is what the little kids that have been growing have been looking for. This is the moment of glory. And until there's that Zuffa champion that starts motivating the kids of tomorrow, maybe the kids will start growing up and saying, "I want to be a Zuffa champion." But it's like Rome wasn't built in one day. I think it's going to be a few years before they establish themselves and they're champions and really get into that dominant of saying, "Okay, this is the champion," and kids will start looking up to them. But It'll be a while because the kids I know at the gyms right now, not even pro. I'm talking the amateurs, the 12-year-old, 12, 15-year-old. They're talking about, I want to be a world champion like my idol.
For sure. Now, there's one thing that always changes minds, and that's money, right? And when I'm looking at these Zuffa cards for the fighters that they have, those fight bonuses are very nice. I mean, they're getting 50,000 bonuses if they have the fight performance of the night, or I think it's 100,000 actually. And then
I thought I saw 50, but I don't know if it's maybe on the bigger cards.
Could be. Yeah.
It could be that they have, a bigger budget for that. But I recently saw a fight, Pablito Rubio, who I put on early on in his career from here in LA. And he was dropped, he got up, and then he won the fight. He got, I think, the 50,000 or 25,000, but he got a nice bonus. Or I think both of them get the bonus. Maybe it's 25 and 25 on fight of the night. And I think there's another one of fighter of the night or something like that.
Yeah, I know they have performance of the night. And, like, I guess performance is like the guy that had the best performance, and the fight is shared between whatever the fight of the night is. And I heard Jaya Pattaya got like $1 million for his fight.
Wow!
Like, I mean, that ain't that bad.
No.
But so they're paying. Like, they just signed Conor Benn to that $15 million deal.
I mean, that's the best advertisement too. That's the best advertisement because fighters talk and it starts getting everybody's attention. But it's still, I mean, Conor Benn, I still don't get it. I don't understand. Not that why he went, but I don't get the deal or how it is because it doesn't make sense. 15 million, one fight, and then he's free again. That just
something's up
what
with
we're
that,
getting.
right?
Exactly. That's
I
what
don't
we're
even
being
know.
told.
Like, if it's only, I always wondered if it's only one fight, what's Eddie all upset about? Like, they're going to pay the dude and he's going to be a free agent, right?
But if it was only one fight, they would have called Eddie and said, "Hey, let's do the fight." Obviously, that's why it doesn't make sense that it's only one fight.
Yeah,
and there has to be a first and last to protect. You're not going to spend that kind of money and then say, "All right, see ya."
But I'll tell you what I love about it. I love the fact that now Top Rank's going to be on the Zone. Well, it looks like Golden Boy might have a deal with the Zone soon if they haven't already. It looks like obviously Matchroom is with them, and like, I think the Zone's made it pretty clear at this point. You guys are going to work together.
I think that's the best thing that could happen for boxing. If you get PBC under the Zone and Top Rank and Golden Boy, Matchroom, Queensberry, everybody's under one umbrella, then you guys are going to have to fight each other. And that's what I was always pushing for. At the time, it was just Golden Boy and Matchroom. And I would say once a year, at the end of the year, let's do our best against their best. Right. Now they call it 5-on-5. And I loved it. When I saw it, I'm like, 5 years too late. But because I was gone.
You wanted your finder's fee, right? They give me my
exactly. It's like, wait a minute, I came up with this. But I always thought it was great. Baseball does it, football does it, soccer does. Boxing doesn't do it because of egos.
Well, obviously they feel threatened somehow by Zuffa, right? And they're going. That's why you see these beefs with Oscar and Dana and Eddie and Dana and or whatever. And like Dana's throwing shots at them, but the way I see it is, if that gives me better fights as a boxing fan, right, then I'm good with it, right? If Zuffa's doing their thing over here, and the boxing promoters feel like they need to show Zuffa what's up and this is the way you're supposed to do it, and that gives me better fights, then I'm all for it. 100%. I don't have a problem with it.
Boxing wins.
Boxing wins, right? Yep. But just to expand a little bit on the Zuffa thing. So, Roberto, did you follow much on, because I know you're a busy guy, but did you follow much on what happened with Jaya Pattaya and the streptum of the IBF?
Yes.
So, my opinion, but I think it was a bullshit stripping. And the reason I feel it's a bullshit stripping is because the IBF doesn't like things that Dana White has said and the people in TKO have said. And apparently they felt insulted that the IBF wasn't put on a pedestal in one of the press conferences, right? And while I could understand and appreciate that to a certain degree, and then of course your official reason was that they did not sanction a fight, and since he fought in a unsanctioned fight, they get to strip him basically. But I have several issues with this situation. One, your champion, Jaya Pataya, paid the sanctioning fee. He put the belt on the table. He put his belt on the shoulder. He took pictures with the belt. He made Zuffa basically announce that it's going to be for the IBF belt. Your champion, the one representing your belt, did not disrespect your belt. Your champion did not say he doesn't appreciate the belt. Your champion told everyone he wants to unify. So in my opinion, I think Jaya Pataya has a case if he wants to take this to court, because I don't think it was a justifiable stripping, in my opinion. And the other issue I have with it is we are losing sight of what a champion means. Jaya Pataya is the best cruiserweight in the world. Don't you want your belt on his shoulder? Do you really want to strip him? Now, for a second time, by the way, right? Do you really want to strip him because of politics, because you have a beef with the promoter, because the promoter has said in the past he's not going to work with you, and because of that you're going to strip Jai and you're going to punish him for being a Zuffa fighter? But I wanted like your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I don't know all the inside of, was the sanction fee paid? Because you pay the sanction fee after the fight. You don't pay it before. So was it paid? Or were we just told it was paid? I don't know. I do know that I found it kind of weird, but they did have a supervisor on site, and then he left prior to the fight. So they must have reported something and left. Maybe they already had their decision. I don't know. But the decision, I believe, the official decision was today.
Yeah.
And the rule was, under the rules, that apparently he hasn't fought anybody in the top 5 in the last 2 years, and that justifies the stripping. This guy was rated. Obviously, he has to be rated, but he was number 15, I believe.
Yeah.
So in the last 2 years, he hasn't defended against the top 5, which I believe it's the only organization that has that, because you have your mandatory at one point, which normally is going to be the number 1. And you do that once a year.
I don't understand, Roberto. What I don't get is this, though, right? He beat Bredas not that long ago, and Bredas was the IBF champion.
Mm-hmm.
And they had stripped him before that, right? So he had to win his belt again. But the reason, let's just say that it is in their book, right? Let's say they do have a rule and they're applying it, right? I could think of dozens of examples where guys didn't do that and they never stripped them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is the issue. And I know you're a fan at heart. You started as a boxing fan, right? So from the boxing fan's perspective, it's like, I just want the best guy to be the world champion. I want it to be settled in the ring, right?
Of course, as a fan, you want to see, because whoever gets the title next.
Yeah. Like I want to see, like if he loses it, I want Zurdo to beat him for it, or Benavidez to beat him for it.
Yeah.
Like I don't want it to be because they could say whatever the reason they want to give. They could say whatever it is, right? But I could confirm to you, and the IBF stated that they did receive the sanctioning fee.
Oh wow, okay.
And they did give it back, right? They did say that they gave it back, right? They didn't keep it, obviously, but they did receive it before the fight. So I'm not quite understanding.
Well, another rule that's in the organizations is And maybe that's what this played in, because I think there's another fight coming up. Oh, Resendiz and
Munguia, yeah.
Munguia, that I saw that it's the BA and somebody else involved? No, it's just the BA right there.
Yeah.
No, there was another fight that's coming up that two organizations said they are not going to, or they'll pull their belts if it goes with it has to be, no, you know which one it is? Sorry. Benavides and Zurdo. That the two organizations, WBO and WBA,
yes,
said they will pull their belts if WBC gives a commemorative belt on that fight.
I've never heard them do that, by the way.
There was a fight where Munguia was fighting here in LA, at the Staples Center. No, sorry, not the Staples Center. At the Dignity Health Center or something. It's the old StubHub. And WBO said if that belt goes in the ring before or after the fight, we will pull the WBO fight. Right. So it is something that they've been against. And I guess like the SUFA belt, they're considering it like a trophy belt. They're not. It can't be considered a sanction body. So they're maybe looking at it as a trophy belt.
So why do they overlook? Because here's the thing: the Zuffa belt is not a sanctioned belt.
Correct.
Right. So it's a quote unquote trophy, and I know that they wanted assurances that it was just going to be like a trophy, and not recognize it as an official belt. I think they had an issue with the way it was being presented as a world title on the line, right? That's what I think, right? And but what they cannot say is that the champion was not representing their belt.
Yeah, I think he even did the second day weigh-in, I believe.
Yeah, he still honored all that. He did. He did the rehydration weigh-in, and he made it clear in interviews. He was telling every interviewer, "Don't believe what you're hearing. Like I'm the IBF champion. I'm going to defend my belt." And lastly, so where's the mandatory? Like they could enforce a mandatory.
Yeah. Within the time, if he has not done in the last 2 years a top 5, then he should have been forced into a mandatory within the 9 months is normally in IBF. So yeah, you're right there.
So I don't know. I don't like what they did here. I kind of see the argument. I heard Paulie Malignaggi say this on Pro Box that the IBF, they've already heard Dana say they're going to put them out of business. So why are they going to work with them? This, that, and the third. Maybe that's true, but maybe that's their intentions. However, what does that have to do with Jai
with the fighter? Yeah. I see your point. I see your point.
At the end of the day, so I wouldn't shock me if this goes to court, to be quite frank.
But see, it's also confusing that, for instance, Sufa says we're not doing those belts, right?
Well,
and I'm hearing now that possibly they're going to do Lindolfo, Delgado, and Hitchinson for the belt.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though, right? Boxing has had many guys, Roberto, come in. If you remember, PBC came in and were saying they're not going to have the belts in the ring.
Yeah.
Then the third, and they want to create. They were talking about creating their own belt and
PBC belt.
That changed immediately, right? Like it's. There's too many moving parts in boxing to just come in and change everything.
100%.
And I think, okay, I get it that Dana came out very strongly saying we're not going to work with the sanctioning bodies and this, that, and the third, but when he signed Jai Opetaia, Jai made it clear he wants to unify all the belts. And in fairness, Dana did come out and say, "Yeah, we're gonna allow Jai Opetaia to unify all the belts. If that's what he wants to do, then we're gonna go ahead and help him with that." That's what he said, right? And I could see them really not having a choice, quite frankly, if they want to sign certain guys to allow them to fight for some of these belts. I mean, they're going to have to.
They're going to have to work with
do it.
Everybody else. Exactly. And even when he said no junior divisions, well, Hitchinson and Delgado is super lightweight, junior welterweight. So That's confusing.
Yeah, like obviously, I see the whole idea about no junior divisions, but you're just limiting yourself at that point if you think about it. But you're gonna sign what talented junior fighters, and then what you're gonna have to make them train more to move down or move up and fight bigger guys.
Or for instance, you got a welterweight, 147, who can't make the weight anymore. He's fought all his amateurs,
Yeah.
the big, but he's only missing it by 1 or 2 pounds. He's not a
Yeah.
full, so he has to go to 60 now to compete. That's too big of a jump.
Fighting
You
against
need
guys that are going to be like 180 on fight night.
Correct. Jojo's last fight, basically, he went in
Wow.
against Lex. I mean, Lex is a big kid, strong kid.
They do.
But that's why those smaller weight classes were made, to alleviate that jump. Like from 47 to 60, that's a big jump. Rarely have we
100%.
seen a 47 move up to 60 and become successful. Very rare. I mean, the greats have done it, but rarely do we see it. So that 60, the 55, 54 is definitely you need those weights. You need them.
We definitely need those weights. By the way, Raquel Miller, you said you work with her, and
Yes.
she's got a fight in that Madison Square Garden card.
Yes.
And you're going to be in the building?
I won't be there. Jason Quigley will be there. We have another fighter on Sheer Sports, Ryan O'Rourke, fighting that night. So Jason may be there, and then Ken Shear, the owner of Sheer Sports, will possibly be there as well.
Any news on Neri Plata?
Yes, she's back in El Paso in June. We haven't been announced, but we're working on that.
Are you going to be in town?
Absolutely.
This is my hometown. So
I will be there in Chuco, no? They call it Chuco.
Chuco Town. That's where the
Yes.
started. And great Mexican food here too, by the way.
Absolutely.
You're from California, so you're no stranger to good Mexican food, right? But El Paso is obviously I'm not going to talk it down. It's a great city, but
No, I love it. I love it. And it always brings out boxing to the greatest. When you were talking earlier about Antonio Escalante, who can ever forget Escalante against Mickey Roman? That was a hell of a
Don
fight.
Haskins Center. It was packed.
Yes,
I saw that fight with my dad, and that fight is special to me because it's not just the fact that it was Escalante and it was El Paso versus Juarez, by the way, and it was like half and half. It was half Mickey Roman, and which surprised me, and then it was like half Escalante, and it was getting rowdy in there. And the crowd was restless from the Danny Garcia, Theophane.
Yeah, Ashley Theophane.
Yeah, the crowd was kind of restless.
Great memory.
Like the Mexican American crowd was kind of brutal to them, but they were like, "Ya para de bailar," like but it that fight, by the way, is when I knew this dude Danny Garcia got punched. By the way, because I was hearing those punches when Theophane would block them, you could hear him thud. But that main event, Escalante, Roman, great fight. That's probably Escalante's best performance, but it was just an amazing performance. Great fight all around. Mickey Roman came to fight, obviously. And that fight, like, I still remember, like, I had heard, like, oh, Escalante's going to be fighting in the El Paso, over in UTEP at the Don Haskins. And I had asked like a bunch of my friends, and we're all working, or like nobody wanted to go, and then finally I just and I had bought the tickets. I had 2 tickets, right? And I couldn't find a date to go. Nobody, and then it just occurred to me, oh, let me ask my dad, right? And I asked my dad. He's like, yeah, sure. Like he said, okay, no problem. And me and my dad didn't have the best relationship at that point, right? Like he had like left us when we were younger or whatever, and then we kind of reconnected, but it wasn't like the same, right? But I got to like invite him to that fight, and we really bonded in that fight.
That's awesome, man.
It was a great performance, a great night of fights, and so it was just great memories for me because of that. And what a performance by Antonio Escalante! I mean,
absolutely. And like you said, Mickey came to fight. If you remember, there's a round probably in the middle of the fight, 8 or 9 or something, Escalante drops Mickey, and
Mhm.
I jump up like,
Yeah.
yeah. That's where I learned not to do that anymore because I jumped up and was celebrating. He looked at me. He looked at me and then yelled, "Oh!" Like he inspired himself, and he got up and fought harder. And I'm like, "Oh shit!" I just pissed this guy off, and that's when I
And
learned don't do it until the fight's over. Then you celebrate.
well, look, like he got up and he made it a fight. I'll say that. And the thing about that atmosphere that night, I don't know if it was sold out, but it was packed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another arena, by the way. It holds, I think it's like 13,000 or 12,000, right, for a boxing event. And there's no bad seat in the house. And there's no bad seat. It's kind of built similar, like to like the MGM Grand, just a little smaller, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no bad seat in the house, and we're like, but it's also how organic it all was, like, because there was like a built-in like El Paso Juarez rivalry, and I don't know if that was the intention behind the
Yeah.
promotion,
Yeah.
but it worked. Like it worked to the T. And for those that don't know, like, this is El Paso, we're border to Juarez, and we were basically the same city before the United States and Mexico went to war. So Juarez has like over 1 million people, and then we have Las Cruces not that long from here, and so like the people from Las Cruces, El Paso, Juarez, they showed up, and it was fireworks. And I think that Holly Holm, Stephanie Hahn fight, I was calling for their first fight to be in El Paso. I said, like, I'm not against the fight being in Puerto Rico, but it belongs in El Paso. Stephanie's from El Paso. Home is from Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
The people from Albuquerque, New Mexico, they're going to show up, right? The people in El Paso are going to show up. There's going to be a natural rivalry there, right? And it's going to be, like, I guarantee you that arena is going to be electric that night. I can almost guarantee it right now.
Absolutely. I mean, El Paso, Texas in general, but El Paso was always a great fight town. 2, Juarez is a big fight town for years. I mean, Quirino Garcia and Mickey Roman and so many other more. And the promoter of Mickey actually, is from Juarez, and that was the natural place to have it in El Paso, because we weren't going to go to Juarez.
I remember like a couple, like just a couple of like years ago, like I was like, I saw Mickey Roman still winning fights. I'm like, is that Mickey Roman still doing this?
He just fought Bronco Lara, who had just, was a champion not too long ago. And in his return, I think Mickey was stopped in the first round. But physically, if you look at him, because I saw the picture right before the weigh-in, he's still ripped. He just shouldn't be fighting anymore. That's too many wars.
Yeah, and that was one of them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yep.
at the Don Haskell, that's the big house in El Paso anyway, and that was something else. Do you remember putting that card together?
Yeah, I did. Eric did the Roman and Escalante, and I did Danny Garcia and Ashley Teofan.
Okay, well, there you go.
And I don't remember on the undercard who else was there, but
yeah, I don't think I showed up till the Garcia fight either way. But great experience, and that is, look, I've been to fights in Vegas. I've been to a lot of fights. That's the best atmosphere I've ever been to.
That's awesome.
Like it's. I'm just saying, you cannot buy an atmosphere like that.
No. We were talking earlier a couple of days ago of fights in COVID, how some promoters were putting out audio for the viewers at home, and it was just so bad, that you'd hear the atmosphere, but it wasn't there. Nothing like. And I tell people all the time that are new boxing fans, watch it on TV. You're going to watch highlights. You're going to watch, the replays. You're going to get the commentating. but there's nothing like the atmosphere of a real fight, of
There's
live
nothing
fight.
like the atmosphere, and I do gotta say this. So this is just my opinion, Robert, and I'm interested to know what you think about this. The only exception is the UK, but I don't like fights in stadiums. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of them, right? I get the visual looks good, and I get it. I really do, right? And you're going to have certain, like Canelo, when he beat Billy Joe Saunders, that was an electric atmosphere, right? And that was at a stadium. But more often than not, I feel like if you're like Lester Martinez, when he fought in Raider Stadium, right? And the undercard of Canelo Crawford against Billy, I felt, and a lot of people that were there in the arena were telling me they weren't feeling it. On TV, I thought the fight was amazing. You know what I mean? I was into the fight. You know, holy, this is a war. You know what I mean? Max Kellerman was going a little too far. He was kind of annoying me, but aside from that, it didn't ruin the fight for me, right? Because Max was saying, like, oh, they should bring a BMF belt to boxing. And I'm just like, we don't need that in boxing, Max. But whatever, right? But I feel, and you'll hear a lot of professional wrestlers say this. In professional wrestling, the energy from the crowd is everything. It's everything.
100%. Yeah.
And they say they hate working like stadiums
because they can't feel it's too
all the noise
open. It goes up. Yeah.
It goes up.
Yeah, you don't capture.
Yeah, you make a big move and it sounds quiet, you know, and you're wondering, well, what's going on here? And, you know, do people in the nosebleeds are looking up at the screen anyway? Like, they're not even watching the actual fight, like, there. You know what I mean? So I'm just not a fan of fights in stadiums, personally. I like arenas. I seen Metallica at the Polo Grounds in Indio, California. I seen them in stadiums. The best time I had, the best experience I had was at the Don Haskins Center, Metallica. It was just better.
Wow.
It was just a better experience. You could feel like the arena. Like, I think it's a very real thing about feeling the energy of a crowd. I think it's a real thing, right? And we're all social creatures. So when we're all feeling and experiencing the same thing, and we can feel it and hear it around us,
and you take it to another level, you want to even go more and more and more. Absolutely. I mean, look, like the fights that I'll never forget. And you know, obviously the Canelo fights and stuff, but Ricky Hatton at the Man Arena, Ricky Hatton at what's the one in Vegas where he fought Castillo, and obviously the MGM. He did fight at the Man City Stadium, and it was over 50,000. But you're right, inside that. In fact, Ricky Hatton's weigh-in against Mayweather was so loud, but it was inside the MGM garden, and it was just so loud for the weigh-in. I said, man, it's going to be electrifying.
And I got to be honest, Robert, like, I think the MGM for boxing is better than the T-Mobile.
I like it because it's also just walk in, you know, and walk out. You don't have to go all around.
Well, that too, right? That too, but I just think it's more. There's not a bad seat in the house. I'm not. No. T-Mobile's not bad either. You know what I mean? But it's built for hockey. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it is what it is. You know. But like, I believe if Lester Martinez versus Billy was in the MGM, let's say, right? Oh, it would have been electric. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. It would have been. You wouldn't even be able to hear yourself.
Also, I mean, that should have been the co-main event. That should have been the co-main event because. Not only because it's easy to say after, it was the better fight of the undercard, but it's the same division as your main event. It's also for a world title. Even though they dropped it to 10 rounds because of timing, they said. But at that point, it's like one of these guys could tomorrow fight one of the guys on the main event. So that's the narrative.
They told us for timing, but they wouldn't shut up in the broadcast. They're just talking and talking and talking. You know what I mean? Like, but like, here's my thing. we've got to blame Bomac for that because he had to prepare Crawford before. So I think
Oh,
that's the reason.
yeah. That could be why it wasn't the code. That's right. He had to be in the dressing. Always the trainer will score.
If I was Canelo and Reynoso, I'm like, no, that should be the
It has to be co-main now. Yeah,
it's such a big fight. What do you mean?
Exactly.
We need it as a co-main. But Bomac, hey, you got to figure it out. You know what I mean? But
why have two fighters? Sorry.
there you go. Hey, this has been I'm a big fan of Neri Plata, by the way. So
you told me last time. You told me last time. You know, I've known her a little bit over a year. Got to know her very well for that fight against Lourdes Juarez. This is a girl, man. You know her and you cheer for her. Not only what she does in the ring, she could fight, how she grew up, what she went through, but knowing her as a person, you see how humble, how grateful, how proud she is to be an MVP fighter. And this couple months back, she went to a girls orphanage to give out packages of gifts for the girls there and talk to motivate them and stuff. So she does a lot of social presence, and she's not, even though she's been a unified world champion, it's not like she's rolling in dough, but she still gives back. And that to me is worth gold. I'm looking, forward to her comeback and then try to get that rematch after or fight for the WBA and the IBF and the BO with the Argentina.
It was early 2023. She fought that Kim Clavel girl from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a great performance. Who was undefeated at the time, by the way. She's a great fighter.
In Canada.
Like, I don't know where in Canada, but it was somewhere in Canada, right? I to be honest, I don't remember where in Canada, but it was somewhere, maybe Montreal. I don't know. But like to go to the hometown and uncrown, that's a big deal.
And then she went to Germany and did it again and won another title there against the champion. So she's done it a couple times, and I think that's one of the reasons. Yeah, that's one of the reasons they really, really consider her one of the best female fighters that ever came out of Mexico.
Yeah, I think I think it's smart, by the way, to put her on that card because, again, it's a Mexican-American fight town. Mexico's literally right there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people from Mexico that work here, so every day. So I think that's smart, and I'm looking forward to it. Hope to meet you there.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely meet you there for sure. I'm going to definitely try to get credentialed to cover that event, so I'm looking forward to that. Roberto Diaz, any final words, brother?
No, always a pleasure. Hopefully have some information very soon on a couple of the big names, including Lamont Roach Jr., who had a great year last year. Unfortunately, no victories, but no defeats, 2 draws.
I forgot to ask you, like, what's with the draw bug? It's like
I know, man. It's like we can't. Hopefully, that's last year. Now people know him, love him, and follow him and support him. Because look, he won't shy away from anybody. He was like, I'm ready to fight whoever. He went from 30 to 35, 35 to 40.
Yeah, look, he's doing his thing, and I really want that Tank rematch. I don't know if it'll ever happen, especially with all the problems Tank has at the moment. But I don't, do you guys just want to move on, or is that still something that's there?
Yeah, he wants to move on. I mean, he doesn't want to lose sleep over that. Obviously, if it happens, it's great, welcomed. He wants it, but he can't sit here and wait because you never know with Tank. Hopefully, Tank is ready to come back, but in the meantime, he wants to go and again, this is another example. He wants to go and fight for a world title belt. He wants a world title. He should be a 3-division world champion today. He's won. But hopefully we could get the second one pretty soon.
Yeah, what impressed me, because look, I'm a big Isaac Cruz fan. I've always have been, and I was very impressed with the way Lamont Roach showed versatility in that fight. Right, we know he could box, and he did do that. He boxed and he moved, but he also went at Isaac Cruz. Really, honestly, it surprised me. And he showed he could fight on the inside very well with, in my opinion, is one of the best inside fighters in the game. And I think he showed a lot of wrinkles to his game. And it's yes, it's a draw on paper, but I don't think he lost any fans or any support. And I think his stock only went up after that.
100%. I agree with you. I thank you. Appreciate those words. And that was a little bit, it's easy because on Monday morning, the Monday morning quarterback could always say, and I heard it a lot, oh, if you guys would have boxed from the beginning, it's an easy fight. He wins it. But then those same people that said that would be saying, oh, he ran from him for 12 rounds. And one thing that was said early on when we talked, it's like, look, we know we're going into a pro Isaac Cruz venue. We know it's San Antonio, Texas, going to be packed with Mexicans. Okay. How do you know what you got to do? Keep them quiet. If they're quiet, that means you're doing right. So from early on, take it to him. Take it to him. Fight on the inside. Fight. I've known Lamont since pro debut. He reminded me a lot, not the same speed, but very similar style to a Shane Mosley fighting on the inside. And Shane, because he grew up in Southern California fighting and sparring with the Mexicans, he had that in. So I really saw a lot his body work, body shots, on the inside. So he was like, all right, let's go, let's take it. The only reason he started boxing is because he broke his hand in the 5th round. That's where he adjusts. Otherwise, he probably would have kept it going.
Why does everyone keep breaking their hands on Isaac Cruz's head? Is what
That's twice. You're right. Hey, we got to get that inspected.
It's like hitting an anvil or something. You know what I mean? But hey, I don't know what he's made of. Like, when Ivan Drago sat down and his trainer, what are you doing? He's like a piece of metal. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just. But plus Isaac Cruz, well, people don't really. He has an aggressive style, but he's not like he's got a really good guard. He's got good skills in there. Like, it's not like just some job.
Plus, he's short, and it's hard too. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to throw up. It's harder to throw down, but it's like he's uncomfortable because he's right in your chest, and he does throw a lot of punches. But we had some very good sparring, and Lamont's showing just in the last 2 fights. People are surprised, but it's like it's because they hadn't seen him at that level yet. And now that he's at that level.
Like, another thing, Roberto, I don't think people really realize, like, when you decide to stick and move for 12 rounds, right? Not only are you running the risk of people being bored and not wanting to see you again.
Correct.
Like, you know what I mean? There's always that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't think people can really appreciate how difficult it is to do that, right? It's and then things will go south really quick, right? Like, if you're boxing that way, every time you get touched, the crowd's going to really react, and that can lose you the rounds.
Correct.
Right? And so, but if you can show versatility and back them up as well and fight them on the inside, right, you could kind of play with the minds of the judges to your favor a little more.
100%, and that was key to that. And also, and this comes back to Shane Mosley, when Shane was going to fight Margarito, he said the problem with a lot of the opponents is they back up too much, which gives him that leverage to land the bigger punches. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to smother him. I'm going to be right in his chest. He can't. And that made sense. At first I didn't want to. I remember telling Shane, man, Shane, this guy's not him. He goes, no, I've been beating Margaritos all my life. And that's where it clicked.
I think that was the right game plan.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Thank you.
I think you probably don't get a decision if he's boxing moving on. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And then what are they going to say if even if people feel you won, right? They're going to do like kind of what they did to Austria at the Trinidad. Yeah, but I mean,
Corrior, yeah. I don't want to see the rematch or.
Yeah. So in this way, hey, you don't get like you can't say he wasn't fighting, right? You can't say that. Like sometimes, like to Shane's point, right? Cotto was like, he was boxing beautifully for the first 6 rounds against Margarito, right? But he spent all his energy, sticking and moving and being against the ropes, throwing combinations, mainly on his back foot, right? And I don't think that was working. And Shane, by the way, I knew Shane was going to win. I won a lot of money when Shane fought Margarito. I just felt like if the lawyers have hooked it and knocked this guy out, well, what makes you think Margarito's going to knock him out? I just didn't. And I knew, like, he was from Pomona. He grew up fighting, these Mexican styles. He knew what to do, right?
He was very confident. Very confident.
Oh yeah, it was a great fight, and I had seen like an interview of Shane Mosley's dad. They were like confident, like going into that fight. So I just think it was a close fight. Obviously, people forget, but like Pitbull Cruz gave Tank Davis all he could handle too. But you do got to back them up, because if you think about like Tyson Fury versus Wilder, the first fight, right? Now I get those are two completely different styles, but Fury was trying to be too defensive in that fight, in the first fight. And he just got knocked down twice in the process. But once he got on his front foot, also boxed at times, but he got on his front foot and backed up Wilder, it changed the whole fight.
Yeah. Sometimes the big guy, or the one that's so used to backing somebody up. I mean, you saw Pitbull frustrated at one point when he kneeled down a little bit and stuck his tongue out. That was frustration. And he actually got a little tired. That's why he started boxing, to get his air back. So he had never been in that situation before.
100%. So look, Canelo stuck and moved in the first Triple G fight, and I don't think till this day people appreciated that, and most people feel he lost that fight, and that's how he fought. But most people felt he won the rematch where he came at Triple G. So. Sometimes you need to keep in mind the judges. How are they going to score this fight? And I think it was smart to consider the crowd, where you're at, the location. I think it was a close fight, but it was some people felt Roach won, so it's not like you can't argue it, So, but those are my thoughts, Roberto. And I hope you have a great day, brother, and hope to have you back soon.
Thank you, G-Style. Always a pleasure, man. We always chop it up really cool. And I'll see you hopefully very soon out there in June.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. May.
Is it May?
Yes, May. Late May.
No, I think ours is, let me see.
The El Paso card? Yeah, it's in May.
With MVP?
Yes. Han home, right?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. It's May? Late May, no? 20th or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
May 30th.
Perfect.
So might as well be June. So
yes, you're right. May 30th.
That's right. All right, brother. Have a good one, man.
God bless. Take care.
Latest.
Bye.
Hey, thanks everybody that tuned in. I appreciate it. All right. I'm gonna go hit the hay. I'm out of here. Peace.